All right. Are you looking to build your business off of Amazon and you're thinking, maybe I want to build a blog or work with influencers? Well, I'm super excited today because I have someone who went an opposite route that many of us go to. She actually started her own blog and then built a product to sell, and she's built a huge following. So she is a legit influencer. So I'm super excited to have here with me today the editor-in-chief of Travel Fashion Girl, Alex Jimenez. Alex, thank you so much for being here on Maximizing E-commerce today.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me here. Super excited to be on your podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, super excited to have you here. So we met face-to-face, and we met through email beforehand, but at Brand Accelerator Live, you were a speaker. You and I were both speakers, and I was actually the one, for those listening or maybe aren't familiar, I was one working on the logistics, and that was such a fun experience getting to meet you there and hang out and all that fun stuff that went on at that conference.
Yes, that conference, Scott has to know, it was absolutely such a life-changing and even game-changing experience. It was phenomenal. I think I'm still on a high a month after the conference is over.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And Scott Volker, of course, is the one who is the face of it all, and he did a great job with having the vision of what he was looking for. Sometimes he almost apologizes to me about like, hey, I want to make sure everything's like exactly, a certain way. But I mean, like because he used to be a photographer, so he just has that eye for things. But it all came together, and he attracts a phenomenal audience, and so everybody that was there was really awesome. So glad we got to hang out there.
Yes, 100% agreed. And it's just so many great connections, even obviously friends, and also potential people to even feature on the blog, as we were chatting about earlier. So
yes.
it was good all around for just personal growth, business growth, and so much more. So it was a great overall conference. So Scott, great job if you're hearing this.
Yes, yeah, we'll make sure that he hears that. So yeah, and going to live events is always such a thing. There's just something about the energy when you're in a room with all those different people, and that was really a fun event. So you and I were talking offline. I was doing a lot of running around, so I didn't get to enjoy it quite as much as I would have liked to. But now I get to go back and listen to the recordings and all that fun stuff.
Those actually, those live events really, and that experience, that rush. And I know we were chatting off the before about this, but it's kind of, that's the kind of a relationship, or those are the kind of experiences that are really difficult to replicate online. But if you can sort of nurture online relationships, whether with your customers or audience or whoever it is, or even just fellow entrepreneurs, and that's really where you start building relationships, and actually being able to do that in person is so next level. So it's that much more powerful. So I loved it. It was really good.
Yeah, awesome. So let's kind of segues into what you've built with Travel Fashion Girl, which you have now. Is it fair to say over 1 million unique visitors a month, and it's a 7-figure blog now? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal. I mean, like that's like San Diego or something like that. Like the people that like come visit, it's like an entire large city comes to your blog every month, basically.
That's overwhelming. I don't know when you put it that way, actually. It's like if I was having like 5 people over my house, I'd freak out and want to make sure I was the best host. And now that you're just put it in that perspective for me, there's 1 million people coming to my house, essentially. I hope my house is in order. I hope I'm doing a good job. That's a lot of pressure.
Well, clearly you've done something right that many people are looking to go, because as anyone who's put on a blog knows, you can't just post a couple posts and then the city of San Diego all comes to your blog, basically. So tell us how you got started in all this.
Nope, that's a very accurate statement. And I think a lot of people do, when they first start blogging, they publish a post and expect exactly the city of San Diego or the world to just come and find them. But for me, on my end, I was really fortunate that when I started the website, I was actually living in a house with a couple of other online. We weren't entrepreneurs, I guess, at that point, but we were. There was a web developer and also social media manager, and I was in the right place at the right time. And I actually learned in that house, we were working for an SEO agency. Mind you, when I came to this house, I had no idea what SEO was or online marketing, but the guy we were learning for as volunteer or learning with and working for as volunteers, volunteer travelers, essentially, he chose me as his keyword girl. And I didn't realize how big of an impact this would have in my business. In fact, I didn't even know what keywords were. And I remember being frustrated for 1 month. It took me 1 month to figure out how to use keywords to that in the right way, especially since he had an SEO agency and I was doing keyword research. I was figuring out how to optimize the blog post, the content that he was creating. So I had no idea that that would be such a game-changing moment, a game-changing experience for the blog, because even now, 7 years later, it has always been SEO and the organic traffic from Google that's really caused us to have such a large amount of traffic.
Yeah. So you started off, you kind of learned the basics, and then how did you get into this? I want to do it on my own.
Well, I actually was working on the website the same time while I was at this house. Well, I was at this volunteer house randomly in Koh Samui, Thailand. And as I was there working on builds of launching my own website, I was there basically at a work exchange, hoping to save some money and maybe learn from some online people. I don't know who these online people would be, hoping they could help me with my website. And as it turns out, it was very serendipitous and it did work out that way. So I learned from the SEO agency that I should put a keyword in every single blog post. And now obviously SEO practice is a bit different. You could put like hundreds of keywords in one article. But at that point, it was essentially, the theory was, if you have 100 articles and you have one keyword per article, that's 100 keywords. And each keyword having a certain amount of people that it would attract via Google. So the more people, the more keywords, the more people, the higher traffic. So that was kind of what I learned from him. And I started implementing that into my website, basically from almost just about day one.
Gotcha. So you're implementing that into your website. And for people that aren't familiar with your website, what's the general premise?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Kevin. I should have probably explained that. Basically, the 30-second elevator pitch is I run Travel Fashion Girl, where we teach women how to travel carry-on only in a stylish and efficient way for anywhere in the world. So,
Awesome. So you've gotten that up to now 1 million visitors. So basically, essentially, you solved a problem that you had for yourself, basically.
Exactly. At that point, I was a long-term traveler, and I had been traveling full-time as a budget backpacker for about 4 years, maybe 5 years at that point. And then I had this weird problem of just overpacking a bunch of stuff, or packing a suitcase full of stuff that I didn't want, a large suitcase, a heavy suitcase. And it seems like something so trivial about worrying about what you're packing. But whether you're traveling for a week or even a year, it really has more to do with the level of stress and discomfort it causes you. Because if you're unprepared, you don't feel comfortable. But when you are prepared, you are less stressed, you're less stressed out, you feel more confident, you feel more comfortable when you're traveling. So I didn't realize this at the time, but there was something so much greater than actually just packing a suitcase. It was removing the stress out of the situation, making people feel more comfortable and confident while they were traveling. And what initially started just as a practical problem of overpacking turned into solving that, not just for me, but for what turns out was a problem for women all over the world as well.
So fast forward today, how many years have you been doing all this again?
Been doing it for 7 years.
For 7 years. And you just fairly recently in the 7-year journey, got into physical products. What made you decide to get into that?
I launched my own physical product brand 2 years ago. And that's because one of the big ways that Travel Fashion Girl is monetized is through Amazon associate revenue. So it's essentially a commission. So when someone buys a product, such as a suitcase, let's say on my website, then we get a small percentage at no extra cost to the buyer. And that's how we're able to provide our content for free and monetize the website. Well, because of that, because we're talking about how to pack and what things to take with you when you're traveling, the website is really focused on products. So we have a very unique advantage over different travel websites or travel blogs in the fact that that's what we're focusing on. So people come to Travel Fashion Girl to shop. And because of that, we've accumulated a lot of data over the past, before we launched the products over the past 5 years, and we knew what people were buying. We do know exactly what they're buying, what they like, what they don't like, what colors. And in addition to having this wealth of information, because we also have a tight-knit community, then we're also listening to what people like, what they want, and from the products that they are buying, what worked and what didn't. So we have all this information basically. And one of the things that we knew as well is that my favorite product, which for travel, which is their packing cubes, they helped me downsize my belongings from a big suitcase to a carry-on suitcase. So they were what was like essentially the secret for how I started traveling carry-on only in my own long-term travelers. So I was really excited to share about packing cubes with the readers and with the audience. And they've been sort of the core tool that I've spoken about over the years. And because of that, it also made sense to launch my own packing cubes and not just launch, something that everybody else was doing. I also, again, as I mentioned, I knew their flaws and I knew how to improve them. So I had all this, insane insider product testing essentially experience that I was then able to take and incorporate and launch this physical products brand with my anchor products, which are packing cubes. So it made a lot of sense. It was a very natural transition. And now I'm able to kind of replace all the packing cubes that I was talking about before on my website with only my brand. So with my products.
Gotcha. So there's a lot to, and I don't mean this as a pun, but there's a lot to unpack there. So,
exactly.
so basically, you're sitting on basically a gold mine of data because you have all this data of what people are clicking on your website. You have a community of people that are talking about what they like and don't like. And at the same time, too, you're living all this. So you were able to figure out, okay, this is where there's an opportunity. So just to help set the stage, I think I kind of know the answers here, but like Amazon Associates, what, if you don't mind me asking, like what percentages were you getting from Amazon as an affiliate?
With Amazon, depending on the category, it could be anywhere from, I think, 4 to 8%.
Gotcha. So it's fair to say you're doing many times over that margin wise with your own product versus having, just the affiliate commission.
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. So then it made sense because now you know what works and what doesn't work. And then what's interesting is you talked about pointing at, all these like links. You've got all these posts. It's, here's 5 or whatever, tools to use for your next travel to wherever they're going, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so you could just point it from Amazon Associates, the link to now your actual product, right?
Yes. And I don't sell on Shopify right now. I'm only selling on Amazon. So I was able just to change the links instead of pointing to the people that are now competitors, the brands that are now competitors. I was able to change all of those links on the website, and that's 2,000 pages, so potentially 2,000 links, and have them all point to my products.
Gotcha. So you were able to point to all your products, and now all of a sudden you're doing, now it's a pretty significant revenue stream for you selling the physical products.
Yes, it has. And it really, my goal with the physical products really was to kind of diversify my revenue, and yeah, the way you explained, there was an opportunity there. I didn't quite think about it in as strategic of a way as you put everything together. I think now looking back, I can kind of tie everything in, looking at it from the afterwards, but
Uh-huh.
it was a very natural thing to do, and obviously a very strategic thing to do in the end. But one of the cool things is, because I did have the website, I did have a content, and as an Amazon associate, I was selling other people's products and putting the money aside, even if it wasn't about getting more commission or earning more revenue off of every time somebody bought a packing cube. The thing is that now I was able to develop a product that actually was even better, or that offered even more unique benefits to someone. And that could be something completely mine, versus me sending it to somebody else or selling somebody else's brand. Now I'm able to sell my own. So that was also very important as well. And the irony is that I've been wanting to launch packing cubes since 2013 or 14, but manufacturing is not my strong suit. So I was always very scared of it, which is why people should actually, we will talk about this later, why they should partner with people like me who don't want to manufacture. But
Right.
there were many years that I was really, it was very hard for me. I was really afraid of doing it. But so I actually approached the brand that I loved, and the brand that really, that I was speaking about for all these years. And I approached them with the idea of partnering and saying, well, hey, what if I'm a guest designer for you? And me sharing this idea back in 2013, 14, I think influencers and bloggers, or the monetary benefit of working with influencers and bloggers really is something that's been more recent in the past couple of years.
Mm.
So, or even it being a lucrative or even valid business has been something really recent. So back then, basically, I was just ignored and kind of pushed aside with that idea. So kind of, now I've just ripped all of the sales that I was making for them completely disappeared overnight. And I'm not saying that I was their big, that I made them a ton of cash, but I'd say with, considering, because the traffic and the size of the website and how many links were pointing to them, that was a significant amount of money that I then removed from that company overnight, essentially.
Yeah, and and some of them may not have even realized it, right? Because basically you're just pointing the link somewhere else, and they may not even realize it.
Yeah, because the most part, I speak for myself, but I know a lot of other people with websites as well. We don't have relationships with the brand or the products or the companies that we're featuring. And in my case, I will feature whoever I want to feature, regardless of, I actually don't have sponsors on my I don't work with sponsors anymore. So everybody I feature is because I want to feature them, or because they're recommended by the readers, or other travelers have recommended them. So I don't really have relationships with like 99.9% of the people that we feature. So a blogger might be sharing a link to your product on Amazon. You might be really excited because you're all of a sudden your products get an increase in revenue. You don't know why, and then they disappear the next day. Maybe your link got taken off. So it's kind of interesting the way that works.
Yeah, that is interesting. And the crazy thing is, Amazon doesn't give you any data as to like where the traffic is coming from, but everyone knows that theoretically, well, it's been tested that if you have traffic coming from outside of Amazon to a listing and people buy, that Amazon really likes that. So you basically became your own influencer, pointing to your own product. And just recently I had Greg Mercer on the show, who also was a speaker at Brand Accelerator Live. And one of the things he was talking about was that what works on Amazon is the days of the Me Too products where you just, you take the same spatula and you throw your logo on it and hope that you're going to sell it, are pretty much gone. You have to do something to make it better. And that's exactly what you did, was you made your product better. And so you're able to send external traffic to a product that people are going to like, because many people have told you, not just, ask your next door neighbor, what do you think about this? But like, you had like significant amount of people giving you feedback over years, and what links they're clicking on and what they don't like. So that's pretty incredible. So it just goes to show the value of having a blog. So you look like you have a very important point to bring up here.
The interesting thing about Greg and Jungle Scout, actually, is you mentioned that I knew that I had a product that I knew that people bought, but actually when I was trying to find someone to partner with to help me manufacture, I was looking for someone who was already an Amazon seller, someone who was already manufacturing with Amazon, maybe an FBA person. And I couldn't actually find anybody to partner with because everybody was rejecting me and the products that I wanted to create, because they said that the data from Amazon, Jungle Scout, told them otherwise. told them
Oh.
told them that my products, sorry, Greg, told them that, told them that my product wasn't going to be wasn't going to work on Amazon. And actually 100% they're correct. My products aren't proper. They don't fit the ideal FBA criteria. So they were 100% accurate. But what they completely overlooked is the fact that I had my own audience and the fact that I was showing them the data, proving to them that I'd already sold these products for many years. I even had down to the color, the size, how many I sold per day, and that still didn't convince them enough that the website would be enough to sell. So they passed up the opportunity to work with me, and not just, well, not pass up the opportunity to work with me, but they didn't give me the opportunity to work with them, actually, I should say, because I was scared to do this alone and I didn't know how to do this alone. And they also instilled a lot of doubt in me. So I almost didn't launch the products because they said that they wouldn't work on Amazon. And they aren't Amazon products, so I actually don't depend on Amazon for sales, but I didn't realize that until now, a year later, after they're already on Amazon.
So basically your product is on Amazon, but it's really more generated by you sending traffic to it.
Yes, and of course, like you said, you don't know where the sales come from, who's buying or how they're buying, if it's based on Amazon's recommendations or if another website's sending you traffic, wherever they're coming from. There isn't a way to tell as far as I know. Maybe somebody else knows. I'd love to hear about it. But so I can tell, though, that the very few times, I don't know how to explain that, but it feels that that the amount of traffic or the amount of sales that Amazon's bringing to me are quite minimal in comparison to the sales that I'm making for myself. And just the fact alone that the packing cubes, which are a highly competitive product, which 100% are not a good FBA product by any means, they, I think we're on the third page of the results. So we're really not visible. And I don't run PPC. I don't run ads. So I'm basically hidden as far as Amazon's concerned. So I don't think that they're bringing me many sales because of that.
Interesting. So this now gets, please.
Although wait, before I say that, but before I finish that, but because I do have Amazon associate data, I can see at least some of the purchases that are being made through the website.
Well, that was another question I was going to ask and I've heard mixed things on this. Is Amazon associates okay with you sending to your own product, or Amazon seller, whichever department, are they both okay with you doing that?
I've heard mixed things. I actually think I have an email from Amazon that we've actually contacted them and have verification that it's okay. However, I didn't really want to risk that. So I may not have, maybe I don't know if we decided to really use the links everywhere, or, it's not worth for me, you know what I mean? Being able to double dip to actually trying to get in trouble with Amazon. But because people are clicking other links, so they might not necessarily, they may have clicked maybe the packing cube link, maybe a link to a shirt, shoes, and a suitcase. And the one that they would have clicked first, that would have been the one that the purchase is tracked by. Because if someone purchases, for example, a suitcase, they click a link for a suitcase and they ended up buying the suitcase, my packing cubes, a new tire for their car, a mattress, and a sofa, I would have, as an Amazon associate, received commission off that entire purchase. So even if I'm not linking to my products as an associate, I can still track some of the sales. And by the quantity that I see, there's still a lot of untracked sales because of that.
Right. But that's a good point, because even if you have the suitcase in the post that you're listing, hey, here's things you must have or whatever, the suitcase is an associate, and then they go back to your post and like, oh, what was the packing cubes? Let me click that link. And then they buy,
anything and
makeup
everything.
or something, that's unrelated to like what was in your post, you get credit for all that too. So,
Somebody bought a sofa, literally bought a sofa. It was like a $2,000 sofa.
oh wow.
Um, I think last year. I think that there's like occasionally that really random purchase where it's like, oh, what was that? That just came through. That was a large commission amount. What exactly did I? Oh, sofa. Oh, okay. That
Oh,
was definitely
nice.
not something I recommended on the website. I don't sell, so I don't.
Right.
Not
You
past
gotta stay
sofa.
in the lane.
Exactly. So exactly. So that happened to be one of those purchases. I think there was also something for a car. It was a car part or a car seat or something that was purchased years ago. That's I think one of the first random things that I saw. I was like, oh wow, I like this Amazon Associate program.
Gotcha. So everyone on Amazon wants to get more sales off Amazon, and you're off Amazon and you're sending your sales to Amazon. So what's the reasoning behind having such a focus for your physical products with Amazon when you even said yourself, they're not even really bringing you business? This is kind of philosophical.
It's for two reasons. One, it's easy. It's
Mm,
just easy for me. I'm already running one business. It's already a lot of work. And
right.
so starting a second one and trying not to lose my mind is something that I really wanted to avoid. And, now that maybe I'll look into other options in the coming year or so. But the bigger reason is that my audience is used to shopping on Amazon. It's easy for them. They're already purchasing. So, and knowing that when I do, there are other retailers that I also link to on the website. But the likelihood of them buying a product, if they have the choice to buy it on Amazon or on that brand's website, they have always historically chosen Amazon. So I haven't tested this side by side for my particular products because I don't have a Shopify. I don't ship on my I don't ship and sell separately other than Amazon. But just by seeing the trends of before I even launched my own, with other things, I think I'd co-created essentially a product before. It was also a packing product, and it was easier to push people, or not push people, but for people to purchase through Amazon than his website. Maybe there's trust. There's also Prime. They get to have it now. So it makes sense for me. It makes sense. And also, again, there is that chance if someone, I can also possibly get commission as well.
Yeah, and that's a very good point because you want them to buy the other stuff that's the Amazon associate links in addition to your own product.
Exactly.
All right, so what I want to dive into is a little bit more on the influencer side. So, and I didn't even realize we were going to go down this conversation at the beginning because I thought we were just going to like, what's it like, being reached out to or people reaching out to you? I'm not sure which is grammatically correct there. But you mentioned you were reaching out to Amazon sellers to partner with, and you had difficulty in doing that. So let's walk through first the Amazon. So you have a blog, and you went to Amazon sellers and said, "Hey, help me out here," and they said, "No, Jungle Scout says it's not a good option." Hi, Greg.
Yes and no. I didn't cold contact Amazon sellers. I actually was looking through within the entrepreneurial communities that I was a part of.
Mm.
And if, for example, there was a speaker or someone heard me speak
Mm-hmm.
and they were a seller, sometimes they'd come up to me and say, hey, I think we'd be able to work together. I work with a manufacturer. I'm based in China, work with a manufacturer. We sell bags, and seems like the perfect partnership. But ultimately, looking at the numbers, they still said no. And then after that not working out, trying to reach out to other people, recommendations, saying, hey, does anybody know anybody who's currently working in the travel product world that would like to partner with someone like me? Getting recommendations and referrals like that. But I didn't cold email Amazon sellers.
Right. So just so I understand, you didn't end up working with an Amazon seller, or did you?
No, I didn't. I ended up doing it by myself. And because I was so unsure if the product was right or wrong, like I said, you actually, like you said, I knew this product sold on my website. So surely it made sense that it would sell, if I made my own product. I already had all this data.
Uh-huh.
But I was instilled with such a lack of confidence over the products that I was about to not do them anymore. And I decided, you know what? Hey, let me just try one thing, because I finally had found my own manufacturer and someone who was a great fit, quality product, kind of mom and pop operation, but bigger. And I then decided to test out the audience to the product. Let's validate the idea. So I went on Facebook Live and I pre-sold. I, spent an hour on Facebook Live with my audience, and I announced that I was going to create this product, and if I sold 1 or 1,000, I was going to produce it regardless. And within that 1 hour Facebook Live, I sold 600 packing cubes, 600 sets of packing cubes. About, maybe there's more. And
In an hour?
yeah, no, I think it was over 2 weeks. It was a 2-week pre-sale period. I
Oh,
think
still, that's really good because the product wasn't even created yet.
No, I had found a manufacturer, but I was scared to hit go. And at that point, yeah, within an hour, like a couple of emails to my list, I just said, this is what I'm doing. Would anybody like to purchase them? I sold 660 sets, I think it was. And we brought in about $17,000 in revenue that I was then able to use my idea was validated, and then I was able to use it to then go through and create the product. Well, I didn't profit from that. I actually learned a lot, and I did what people said not to do, which was ship it yourself. That whole experience was really worthwhile because I got to have that guerrilla, nitty gritty, old school business experience.
Right.
And I also got to see it was a very unique insight on the quality control, on shipping, on customer service, and that entire experience. It was very good to have that very challenging, full experience of doing it from zero, from ground up on your own.
Wow. So that's pretty incredible. I didn't realize that you were shipping them yourself and all that. So like, what did you even use as your shopping cart for the pre-sales?
I don't know. Sendal, Thrivecart, something. I don't know.
Something, but it
PayPal.
worked.
It was there's like spreadsheet and tracking, and then having people say, hey, can I change my address? And I think,
Oh, geez.
And then we were also it was also, the tricky part was international sales. I said I would accept sales from anywhere in the world because I have a global audience. While the majority of my audience is based in the US, I wanted to open it up. Considering you're looking at the percentages,
Mm-hmm.
I figured that the other 3 main places where it would come from would be Australia, Canada, and the UK.
Okay.
And then, but there were like 50 odd orders from whether Indonesia, South Africa, Israel, Russia. And that was the hardest part because I hated disappointing people because I had no control over the shipping. And so one of the products arrived there like a year later. I mean, I had already refunded the person. I was happy to refund them, no problem.
Oh my gosh.
It was just something that I had no control over, was shipping. And which is one of the biggest reasons why I was discouraged from I made the decision to focus only on selling on Amazon USA, not doing sales on my own, not getting a shipping company, just starting out with Amazon. That was also a part of it as well. And the good thing about selling on Amazon USA is that the readers that are in the other major countries, and the other countries where we have the other large bulk of our audience, Australia, Canada, and the UK, and countries in Europe as well. Some countries in Europe, they're able to order from Amazon USA, and there's not a huge markup, or there's not, obviously there's a markup on my end, but they're just paying the import taxes, which is actually not too bad. So I still get to serve the audience that way, but it was hard to say no to the rest of the global audience, but it was strictly from a logistical standpoint. I can't take somebody's money hoping that they'll receive it.
Right. A year later. That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you send stuff out to some countries, like where there's not like the infrastructure of, a strong postal service or FedEx or whatever, it's like you're just hoping it gets there. And international shipping for one-off orders can be pretty tight. So I
Okay.
give you credit for that.
That was another reason. Okay, like now I'm going back in time now. I totally forgot all these details. But that was another major reason why I didn't want to ship, why I chose Amazon, because I knew how much it cost to ship from USPS, from the US Postal Service. And also because I was living in England at the time, we shipped we shipped some products from England. So I knew how much it cost to use the Royal Mail and the USPS, and how reliable or unreliable the services were and how costly they were. So in the end, it was actually not that much more to pay Amazon seller fees, which are
Mm-hmm.
insane and very expensive, but it was still the same as shipping. You know, like shipping the product at some point, even in the US, I think it would have been cheaper in some cases to have shipped product from England to the US than within the US itself with USPS, which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yes. There's definitely some weird stuff sometimes with shipping and whatnot. And you're right on the money there, that the logistics part can be so hard to figure out, especially with, individual orders and stuff like that.
And
So,
obviously we're too small at that point to qualify for like bulk shipping rates and
mhm.
everything. So yeah, it's okay. But it was a good lesson. It was a good experience. And I also got some good social media coverage because I had pictures of me with a big giant bag of, red envelopes that I was at the post office mailing one by one. The post offices in England and the US, probably, or in Los Angeles where I was when I was shipping them, probably hated me. I think I gave them like candy or something the last day I was there because they were just
They're probably like, oh no, here she comes back.
exactly. I think they'd all go running away and go hide in the back when I
Oh,
showed up.
it's a lunch break
Yeah,
now
exactly. Exactly.
at 10 a.m. Um, so what would have been, if you had found somebody to work with, what would have been the type of arrangement that would have been attractive to both parties in your mind?
What I thought was obvious, they handle manufacturing and logistics of that. And any marketing within Amazon, I'm sure they would have wanted to do PPC or whatnot. And I didn't have to figure out that whole strategy. Um, if we would have gone that route, or reviews or giveaways or whatever, whatever that Amazon strategy is that I don't do because I don't know it and I'm not interested in knowing it. But and I would have handled the marketing aspect because I have the audience. So I would have been able to use it to market and sell it through my website and also through other influencers as well, because I do, just because I'm not only depending on my own audience, I'm also working with other influencers, YouTubers, bloggers in the same way. And sharing my product with them, doing outreach and doing it in a way where I know it's not the typical, almost sleazy fashion that a lot of Amazon sellers, or not Amazon, not just Amazon sellers, a lot of brands reach out to us like, hey, I want to send you a $10 purse and I want you to pay for shipping. And then I want you to write a review and share it on social media. So not only do I want to give you a $10 product, but I also want to make you work for me for free, is essentially what most people say. So it's
Gotcha. We'll get into that in just a minute, but I know people are going to be very interested in, like, okay, now all of a sudden it might sound more attractive for them to work with an influencer of some sort, or somebody with an existing audience. I know other people that have done it and they've had some pretty good success at it. So it basically would have been like a 50-50 deal, or you would have worked something out, or whatever the case is.
yes. I mean, I would imagine we'd both be investing equal. We would both have invested equal amounts into manufacturing, into overhead costs. And I
Hmm.
think that's when I kind of created a tentative agreement with one particular seller. That was kind of what I think what we were looking to do is we'd both pay overhead costs, but they handle the actual just the processes and dealing with the manufacturers and dealing with delivery and doing quality control. All the labor is split up, but the money is equal, I would imagine, going in
Gotcha.
50/50.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And that could be attractive. And now let's switch into the other way, because I know you probably get reached out to quite a bit. And, we were talking offline about how probably nowhere near as much as you do, but I'll get the emails that are like, hey, I know someone that'd be great for you to partner with. And like, it doesn't even say what it is. It's like, well, okay, they just want to get on the podcast or whatever the case is. But, there's no like real explanation. It's usually vague, or it's like kind of like you just kind of hinted at there, like they want me to do work and I don't even really know what it's all about. So what is good and what's not good reaching out to an influencer?
I feel that when people reach out to others online, whether it's to an influencer, like you said, if they want to make a connection, introduce you to someone for the podcast, it's almost as if someone's literally, you're walking down the street, someone comes up to you and just says, "Hey, can you go to my house and, just mow the lawn?" You know, whether I'm so-and-so's friend, or, hey, I just happened to see you walking down the street. I thought you look great. You had a great vibe about you. So I wanted to know if you wanted to go to my house and do some chores. Like that is
Right.
ridiculous, but that's how people just send messages and say, hey, blogger, love the stuff on your website. Really love that post about whatever. We want to send you this, and we'd like you to write a review in exchange and post it on social and this and this and that. It's, the very first thing, it'd be nice if you at least even know who you were talking about. It'd be nice if you addressed me by my name. That's always a really good start. Hi, Alex. Hey, I came across your blog, Travel Fashion Girl, and this is exactly why it makes perfect sense for my product. My disclaimer here is with giving you guys as example, I do not work with brands or anybody that offers
don't have everybody reach out to you with the exact same
just saying that. But if you want to reach out to somebody else, this is why it actually makes sense. I have this travel towel, which a lot of people do. I have a travel towel, and it specifically makes sense for your audience for these 3 reasons. You want to you want to explain to me the USP. Why should I feature it? And what's the USP that I should be sharing with my audience?
The unique selling proposition.
There's like 1,000 travel towels. So why is yours different? You've got to paint that story for me. And then once you tell me why it's great, one thing that nobody ever does is our products are available on Amazon. This is really important because I'm not going to take the time to go and search for your website on Google and then learn about you, who you are. Do you offer an affiliate program for publishers? You make me do a lot of work, essentially. Not only, a lot of people are just insulting. They will expect you to do work and then expect you to research you and figure out if they even should work with you. So make it really simple. Say, we currently, we sell on Amazon. All of our products are available on Amazon. If you're a part of the Amazon Associate Program, you might be familiar with whatever, or you might want to, if you wanted to feature us, then you'd be able to monetize it that way. We also offer an affiliate program through our Shopify site. But before we even get there, why don't you let me send you a free product to check it out yourself and see what you think. Send me your address and I'll send the product over to you. And you see how that was it provided all the information. It was also not ingenuine. I hate it when people say that they love the blog and they love this, resonated with this thing when they really didn't. Just you giving the USP for your products shows that you understand my audience, and you understand why we would be a great team, why we should partner together versus just trying to BS, you know what I mean? And already seeming shady, already like, oh, red flag, like delete, instant delete. So it's very basic things. Ideally it would be, if you're going up to someone at a networking event, at a conference, hey, this is my name. What's yours? What do you do? This is what I do. Oh, let me ask you a question about that. It's just a relationship that you're building with this person. Never ask someone to do something for you off the bat. Don't assume they want to work with you. And they might come back and say, well, I charge for this, or I don't do this for free. So if it's somebody that's a prominent influencer that you are really looking to work with, then you should also ask for their rates if applicable. But it's not something you want to do with everybody. I'd say for me as an influencer, I kind of when I'm planning my own influencer campaigns for my products, it's kind of, okay, here's my budget. Let's say I have $5,000. I'm going to save $1,000 for that, or maybe even a couple $1,000 for that bigger not bigger blogger, because audience numbers don't matter, but the most relevant blogger or influencer with the most relevant audience and the relevant topic. And then split up the rest of the money, you know, with some medium influencer bloggers, whatever they are, and then break it down, you know, maybe the newer they are, less amount of budget. But in a lot of cases, you might not even need to spend money with influencers, because a lot of the products that I've received, a lot of the products that I still promote the most are the ones that were so relevant, someone sent it to me, asked me to do nothing in return other than check it out. And I had such a great experience that years later, I'm still promoting the hell out of their products. And I've sold thousands and thousands of their products. And all they did was humanize me, reach out to me, tell me why their product was relevant, and send me a sample. And that was really cool.
Wow, that is pretty cool. That's very I think that gives hope to a lot of people, because a lot of people, you know, maybe they're not doing it right, or they, you know, it is a little bit of a numbers game. You're not just going to reach out to someone one time and be, you know, everything exactly you just said, and it's all going to work out and your business is taken care of. You're going to have to reach out to a few different people. It's prospecting. It's basically like sales. But at the same time too, there's a lot of debate. I've seen people on the, you know, I have a product and I want to get influencers to work with me. A lot of debate of, you know, do I start like at a certain level of influencer and work my way up? You know, what is that right level? You know, is there a level? I mean, I know it's probably depending on the industry and a lot of different factors, how much you click with the person, but like, what would be a good benchmark criteria, you know, to start with if you're just getting into the influencer space or reaching out to influencers, I guess is the question.
If you're just reaching out and you don't have a budget for influencers, and really, you know, just because I have 1 million monthly visitors doesn't mean that I'm the right person for anybody's product.
Right.
You know, just anybody's product. Likewise, just because someone has 1,000 visitors doesn't mean that they're not going to have enough people for your product, depending on what it is, depending on your price point, how engaged their following is, what they're writing about, or what images they're taking, pictures they're taking on Instagram or whatever it is. The more relevant someone is to you, the more specific an influencer or blogger or even YouTube channel is to what you're selling. That's how you should base who you're contacting, because the more relevant you are to them, the more they'll want to feature you. And the more broad the topics that the blogger or influencer covers, the more that you'll be lost in the conversation. So for me, I don't talk about general travel. I only talk about packing. That's what I specifically talk about, or products as related to packing, clothing as related to travel, shoes as related to travel. So I think people have reached out to me. I'm trying to think of an example, but I'll just give you an extreme example, like olive oil. Somebody, okay. I think somebody sent me olive oil, and I thought, wow, that's a lot of waste of this person's money, especially because it came from an agency, which means that they must have a huge budget for press, and they just sent it to someone with large numbers and who's not going to feature them, because how authentic would it be if I featured olive oil on my blog?
Right.
And not just authentic, how irrelevant.
Pack this in your suitcase.
You know, like what does olive oil have to do with anything? But if it was a luggage company, now not just a luggage company, but a luggage company that has the most lightweight suitcase in the world, the lightweight carry-on suitcase in the world, I would say, okay, well, that's really interesting, because I talk about carry-on only travel. So if it was a full-size suitcase, maybe less relevant. But the fact that it's ultra lightweight, extremely relevant, because obviously I talk about packing light. If it was a 20-pound carry-on suitcase, yeah, I'm probably not going to feature you, because that doesn't really work with our principles or what packing light's all about. So, I mean, that's very specific. One thing that I did with Compass Rose with one of our products is try to think, okay, well, yes, our products work for travelers. And as much as I want to as much as I have reached out to travel bloggers and I want to work with travel influencers, what other influencers could use our products? Maybe they're family or parenting influencers, family bloggers, maybe Disney bloggers. What about organization bloggers? So that was something we actually did. We did some research and came across a YouTube channel that with a girl that specifically spoke about all things organization. So think about that. Even if it's organization for the home or for travel, ultimately her audience is going to be looking for the solution that I provide with one of my products. So she's got only people interested in organization. Even though they're not all travelers, they are interested in organization. So that's very specific. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I've just launched this new product. These are the reasons. Well, obviously not hey, but, hey, her name. This is, why I think this might be interesting. Would you be interested in checking it out? And she said yes. And 3 months later, she put a video, not just reviewing our product, but also showing people how she used our product to go on a trip, on a weekend trip. And within, I think, 48 hours, she had like 10,000 views. I think it had 10,000 likes within a couple of weeks. I don't know. And her following was 30,000 people. So that didn't cost me anything. And that wasn't directly in my specific genre, but it was someone who had an audience that would be interested in purchasing a very specific type of audience, that consumer that is interested in organization. Their brain works that way. They live for organization. That's the kind of thing you have to look for.
So basically it's the overlapping. Yeah.
Does that help? I just went all over the place.
No, I think that was really good because it's not just like, okay, if I have packing cubes, I only go after, people that are other carry-on only, lightweight, travel lightly blogs. I go after all these other different ones that could also use it. The Disney blogger, the organization person. If you start thinking outside the box, you're going to find other people that can get into that. So yeah, that's super helpful.
Sorry, that really just maximizes, your opportunities. And there's a gazillion bloggers and influencers for just about every single genre and topic. But you're also, by doing that, you're also becoming less competitive within that genre, because somebody, for example, a travel blogger might be used to getting contacted 1,000 times a day by people with travel products. But all of a sudden, if it's maybe, a food travel blogger or a travel blogger that talks a lot about food, and they get reached out to by a company with cooking products that are perfect to use while traveling, they'll think, oh, wow, that's really different. I haven't been reached out to by a million different cooking companies or companies with cooking products. So they'll be more likely also to pay attention to you and what you're doing. You also have to make sure that their audience, they're not just occasionally talking about cooking. If they're a travel blogger, it would also have to be very relevant to make sure that it's strong enough of a tie-in that their core audience would have both interests.
Right, exactly. So it fits with the audience, but at the same time too, it's novel enough that it catches their attention, because if they're getting packing cubes sent to them almost daily, then it's hard to really stick out. So yeah, that's...
With that being said though, however, if another strategy that I use, I go on Google and I see, well, who's ranking for whatever, who's ranking for gift guides or reviews or whatever. And if someone specializes in reviews on certain topics, then I would definitely reach out to them as well, because that's what their specialty is and people follow them. So specifically to learn about reviews for a certain type of product. So if it was just maybe for travel product, like for me, I'm that person actually that, I specialize in reviews for travel products. So that would make sense in my case, or me looking for people like that. And in that case, paying someone with that direct audience, that direct topic, someone who's reviewing your exact products, who has that audience to match, they are definitely that's where I would invest my marketing dollars as well. And I'd want to be featured on their, obviously I'd ask to see if they would be interested in, receiving my product, without obviously no strings attached, starting a relationship with them. But also it would be a place where if they did say, well, I'd be happy to consider your product, these are my rates. Those rates, as I've started asking for them, and I know my rates are probably really low in now I look at other people's rates and I think, oh, wow, I was really undervaluing myself. you might be surprised that the rates that people give you aren't as much as you think. And for the price of like $250, $300, you'll get a video. Because remember, people aren't just giving you, they're not just making a review. They're not just writing a blog post. They're not just taking a picture or Instagram. They're not just making a video. They're giving you access to their audience. And that's what you don't have. You can pay anybody to write a blog post. You can pay anybody to write a video. But if you're also looking to have direct access to their audience, that's where the true value of an influencer and a blogger and whatever it is, that's where the true value is, when they have an audience as well. And remember, they're doing everything for you. They're the model, they're the producer, they're the editor, they're their marketer. They're an all-in-one one-man band. And you either, if what they have is a perfect fit, they're definitely worth investing, I feel. So that's where you put your money.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because at the end of the day, it's all about attention. Because why do people go on Amazon? Why do people sell on Amazon? Is because for the most part, Amazon has the attention of people who are looking to buy stuff. So if you have stuff that people are looking to buy on Amazon, you could usually do pretty well with it. And if you can send external traffic to it, even better.
What people don't realize, I think, is that Google also, when I talked about SEO, Google works in a really similar way. And it's part of the reason actually why I've kind of stopped doing Facebook ads to the website, not to the products, but to the website, because with Facebook ads, I'm disrupting their news feed and telling them about the website. But on Google, right now I'm looking more to invest maybe in Google, because when people are searching for reviews on Google, or they're researching products with the intent to buy. They're not on Facebook, for example, with the intent to buy anything. You're just going to like, oh, here, look, pay attention to me and buy me. And you're kind of distracting them, which may or may not work. And obviously we do know Facebook ads work in many different ways. But with Google, if there's someone, and now that's either with your website, with your product, with an influencer that's appearing for the results, for the top search results for a particular topic, whether it's packing cubes, whether it's, just that, or like reviews or best or whatever, those are the kinds of people who you also want to reach out to, because people that are reading their information, or even if you're taking the time to build a website and build content of your own, people there are searching with the intent to buy. Also Pinterest, it's like the social media channel that everybody forgets with Pinterest. And that's really because it's not a social media channel. It's a search engine. And people on Pinterest also, they're researching again with the intent to buy. And certain genres and certain niches are more relevant. So where am I going to invest my money? It's not on Instagram. It'll be Pinterest and Google. That's really kind of where I'm putting my money in. And I do that as an influencer, not from a brand's perspective, but because I know how effective that is as an influencer. And I see how people shop my website through Google and Pinterest. That's where I have spent the majority of it. That's where I've invested my time. I stopped using Twitter. I didn't use Instagram for a while. And I know there's more opportunities to monetize now than there were before. But where I've seen always the higher numbers have always been Pinterest and Google. Yeah, I was investing money in Instagram and Facebook ads because that's a sexy thing to do. But I'm reshifting my own strategy now.
But you are still running Facebook ads to your product?
No? I don't do Facebook ads. I don't do any paid. I've done some testing. I've done some ads, but I don't really do ads at all to the physical products. I have done ads to Travel Fashion Girl, to the website.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Just for the attention of the blog itself.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, if somebody was starting out and blogging and they wanted to spend a little money on Facebook ads, what would make sense? Or do you have to get the flywheel going before putting money into it?
That's tricky. I haven't done Facebook ads myself. I've hired a very knowledgeable and very good Facebook ad agencies to do it for me.
Yes, and I think I know who that is, and they're probably going to be on this show here in the near future.
Very very good, very knowledgeable, very effective and efficient. Not just someone I've hired, but also a friend. So yeah, I've never really done them on my own, again, because if I can partner with someone else that I don't have to take that knowledge, and as an entrepreneur, I can focus on in other places, my effort in other places, versus learning how to do Facebook ads or learning how to manufacture products, basically.
Gotcha. Well, I think there's a couple takeaways I've gotten out of this interview. One, learn from others. And that if you can, whether it be in the beginning where maybe someone's more of a mentor slash, they don't even realize maybe what they're teaching you, but whatever that information is that they're teaching you, you can apply later on, or down the road where you have more money to invest in experts to do X, Y, or Z for you. Then also, and I liked your analogy of the like walk up and like, hey, you want to mow my lawn? Because I've heard so many times the analogy of like, hey, we just met, you want to get married? But that's not as applicable as the way you phrased it of, hey, do you want to go do work for free, basically? Because that's essentially what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure when you marry someone, they end up working for you for a certain, I think to a certain extent, but really it's, you're asking someone to go into your house, somewhere personal, going and washing your car, doing your laundry, doing your chores, and just doing it all for free because you went up to them and asked them to.
Right. Because I liked what you're doing in a very generic
Literally,
sense.
it's just like, I like the way you look, like how you look while you're walking. Can you go, and like,
Right.
it's just the most, I don't yeah. The way people try to create relationships online, that's what it is. It's a relationship. But we forget that. That's what online interaction is. It's not, you're not, when you're engaging in social media, or how do I get my numbers up? Well, that's not just about numbers. Those numbers are people. It's how do you
Mm-hmm.
engage with those people? How do you speak to them in a way that resonates with them? How do you speak with them in a way that they feel like you're talking to them like a human being and not like a number? And that could be in general for your audience, your buyers, or influencers that you want to work with.
No, that's all good stuff. That's all phenomenal stuff there. So if somebody wanted to follow Alex Jimenez somewhere online, where would they go and do that?
Go check out my website, travelfashiongirl.com. Want to check out the products, go to compassrosetravelaccessories.com, and Travel Fashion Girl on all social media handles, even Twitter, but probably won't answer there because I'm not there anymore.
Because you've given up on Twitter.
80/20, guys. Come on, we only have so much time. Pick the one that makes the most sense, the one that helps you get to your why the fastest, and stick to that one.
And that's another takeaway I would say is that I got out of this is that, and I was listening to another interview you were recently on as I was researching this, and it was kind of the same overall topic, whether or not you exactly said it, 80/20, but like just focus in on where your strengths are and where things are going well, and don't just do everything because everyone else says to do it.
That's exactly what I've done with the website, and also now with the physical products, with social media channels. You know, Instagram is a perfect example of that for me. For some brands, I've met people with brands that say working with influencers and giving away free, like 100 free mascaras a day really drives their sales. Awesome. That's fantastic. In my case, sharing content on Pinterest has been very successful over the past 7 years and brings me a good majority of my social media traffic for free without me lifting a finger for the past 2 years, just as residual result of what I did before. So I'm also looking to do things that have a long lasting impact, whether that's YouTube, Pinterest, or the blog, versus things that might just be very temporary, things that don't actually have any ROI. I don't want to do things, whether it's a social media influencer posting pictures for the blog on Instagram just because Instagram's popular. Well, how is that going to help grow Travel Fashion Girl? Likewise, should I invest in influencers for Compass Rose on Instagram, or should I look for people on YouTube or bloggers? So it's making that decision of where you want to invest your time and what makes the most sense for your business. And it isn't what's working for everybody else. It really is understanding trying things out, trying a little bit of everything in the beginning, but then finding out what's the one thing really driving your revenue, and then sticking to that one thing.
Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun.
I've had fun too, Kevin. I'm glad you have.
Yeah. I think we're starting to lose the internet connection here, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on Maximizing E-commerce. This has been a phenomenal conversation, and I've gotten a lot out of this, and I hope all the listeners are getting a lot out of this conversation as well.
Hopefully it's been valuable. Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me on. I feel like I've shared a lot of stuff that I hadn't really shared on other interviews. So it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Take care.